Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessie, if you're new here. I like to read books, among other things. It's not the only thing I do. I'm a very interesting person, actually, and I have a lot of hobbies, and I'm good at a lot of things, okay? Believe it or not. And believe it, you better. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. Today, I thought it would be fun. It is soon to be fall. It is September, 4th, 5th. I think it's the 5th as I record this. It's late at night. I'm sitting in bed. I had a full day of work, and now I want to chill and relax. And by doing that, and to do that, we're going to be talking about books. That's usually how I relax. Mosquito currently trying to eat me. Nothing gets more fall than that, you guys. Mosquitoes, fall time. It's here. I know it. Anyway, we're going to be talking about basically fall recs / my fall TBR. Okay, so we're going to go over some books that I loved reading during the fall. Okay, and if that makes sense, they basically some of these might not have fully fall vibes, but basically I read them during the fall and know for a fact that if I read them during any other season, it would not have been as enjoyable. So I'm just going to talk about some books I recommend for this fall, and then I'm going to talk about my fall TBR and books I am hoping to finish during the cozy months when I will hopefully read the most because I'll be locked inside. I have my handy dandy little book here. This is actually a sketchbook, but I didn't have any other paper to write down my list of books I want to talk about here today, so this will have to do. Told you I'm good at other stuff, okay? Yeah. So good. So good, so good. Oh, yeah. I'm so good. I'm so good at other things besides reading, okay? Believe me. Let me just find my... Well, this is embarrassing. I'm going to quickly show you this sketch, okay? This was probably done easily 4 or 5 years ago when I was in a different time in my life. I'll just quickly show you guys, okay? That's all you get. Oh! Who was that? Anyway, moving on. We're gonna move on now. Okay, no, but for real though, while we're on the topic, I am actually good at drawing, okay? I drew this the other day. Ooh, it's backwards. It actually doesn't look that good. That's a horse, and it looks jacked up when it's in the camera for some reason. I swear it looks better in person. I'm not pleading my case very good here, am I? Okay, well, let's just talk about books. Something I do know I'm good at is reading words. It's really not that hard. 3rd graders do it. Let's jump into the fall recs, starting with one series that I always say is a love-hate relationship, and I never know how to rate it or talk about it. Zodiac Academy. There's 10 books total. So they are labeled as 9 books because there's 8.5, but there's technically 10 because of that 8.5. Anyway, Zodiac Academy. It is about 2 twin sisters who live in the mortal world, and then they soon find out that they are fae, and they get sent off to this fae boarding school where they basically, the first book is them getting bullied. The entire series is them discovering their powers, their heritage, fighting a war, fighting one of the main male characters' evil father. Oh, and by the way, let me just tell you, all these books are going to have horrible descriptions because I'm not good at describing what happens in these books. I just know the vibes. I know what happened, but I can't tell you what happened. So you're going to have to take my word for it. Zodiac Academy. When I say love-hate relationship, it is because, first of all, it's 10 books of nothing but you trying to figure out whether or not what you're reading is good or not. It's like a horrible soap opera, but it has fall vibes. Obviously, they're at school, so for me, that always just brings me right into the fall because when school starts. It was fun. A lot of fun. I can't even describe basically what it's about because there's so much that happens in each book throughout the entire series that there's I couldn't pinpoint exactly one thing, but basically it's about 2 twin sisters that start as mortals, and they quickly find out that they are actually fae, and then they get sent off to the boarding school in this other realm. And then a bunch of crap goes down, teacher-student relationships, bully relationships, weird wolf-dragon relationships. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. But it was a great time, and I will never read it again. And moving on. Next is Be Sure by Siennan McGuire, I think is how it says. Now, basically, Be Sure is actually a collection of 3 different books, and I'll put those books up here. They're basically about this boarding school / orphanage that takes in these children with special abilities, and I say special abilities because they don't really have special abilities, but basically there's these certain doors that open to all these different worlds and these different realms, and each child that has experienced one of these doors opening gets sent to whichever realm fits them the best. So there's a Candyland realm, an underworld realm, an evil vampire realm, Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's just like a underwater realm. Like, it's very weird. And all these kids go through these doors into these different realms when they open up for them, but they only ever open once in their lifetime. So while they're in that realm, they have to decide if they want to stay, because if they leave, their door will not open again. Basically, what happens after they leave the world, they become like obsessed with it, and their whole life is like ruined, and they can't function like a normal human. So they get sent to this orphanage where they're supposed to get help. But basically, at this orphanage, they wait around all day waiting for their door to open, hopefully. And it's very weird because like the first book, when you're introduced to all of this, obviously, and the main character you do follow throughout the 3 books, even though they're different. They're about different worlds, and the main kids that come from those worlds, it was so strange, I don't know how to explain it. It was very entertaining, and it was very just like spooky, creepy, kind of what am I reading? This is very strange vibes, but it was also very good. Like I don't know. The concept of it was very interesting and very new, and I did really enjoy that. That was a good one I read last year. Next, this is a fantasy series. By the way, let me just say here, none of these books are going to be in order of like genre. There's some horror, there's some fantasy, there's some romance maybe, witches, werewolves, I don't know. It's all over the place, okay? We're not here for an organized time, we're here for a good time. And I can provide that, just not organized. Nothing makes sense up here ever. Fantasy, Belladonna and Foxglove. This takes place in like the olden times. Now, okay, mind you, I read this book easily a year or 2 ago. Probably like the 1700s. I could totally be off. About this girl who, when she eats belladonna seeds, she can like die, but like halfway. And when she does that, she sees death himself. I think in the beginning of the book, mind you, I read this a while ago. Grandparents, I think is who she's with, dies. And she gets sent away to live with an aunt or an uncle or something. Somebody she knows to live in this castle. And a bunch of people start getting murdered, and so she uses her talent to speak with death, her skills, her magic, by speaking to death to figure out who's murdering people. And then Foxglove is just the second book after all of that. This is why this is not my full-time job. Moving on. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. If you haven't heard about this book, you've heard about this book. Like, I mean, it's like literally one of like the book talk classics, okay? The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So, Addie is a woman. Once again, this takes place in the olden days, like Paris, I think, is where, like a little village in Paris is where you start out, obviously, by meeting Addie LaRue herself. Like, is supposed to be in this arranged marriage, but she doesn't want to be. She's like very free and adventurous, and she wants to live a long life without being tied to anything. And so because of that, and she's also making the deal with the devil, obviously her wish gets like ruined, and therefore she lives forever, but nobody can ever remember her. Ever. So every person she meets forgets her, like, as soon as she leaves. And, like, this, like, follows along from the 1700s to modern day, like, New York City, where one day she meets this guy, and the words, "Hey, I remember you," are muttered to her. What? It was so good. I read that, like, a couple years ago, so I literally, like, I remember it, but like I don't remember it, you know? I just know that it's good. Shady Hollow. That is one I read. This is such an interesting concept for a book. Shady Hollow is like this little, I guess kind of fantasy, but it's basically a murder mystery, but all the main characters are animals. So like the main character, she is a fox, and she's a news reporter. I guess like a news reporter as in for like the newspaper, like of this little animal ran town. And somebody gets murdered, and she goes down this rabbit hole. A fox goes down a rabbit hole. Anyway, she goes down this rabbit hole of like figuring out who and is doing all these murders and stuff. But it was just like, it's just like your classic murder mystery, cozy little town. But all the characters are animals, and it was so much fun. And I actually haven't finished this series yet. I think there's like 4 or 5. That's awkward. I'm gonna have to be quiet again because somebody went to bed. Basically, everybody is animals, and now I'm embarrassed. I hate being perceived in any way to do any type of hobby. That's weird. Anyway, moving on before I off myself. After The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, she also has a duology called Vicious and Vengeful. That's Vicious and Vengeful. That's not what the duology is called. But basically, it is about these 2 college buddies who are becoming doctors, and their thesis for one of these classes is like basically about these things called extraordinaries. And there are these people that gain superpowers after they had a near-death experience, and by near death, like their heart literally stops and then they're brought back to life. And their thesis has to do with how these extraordinary powers come on because of these near-death experiences, mixed with the adrenaline, mixed with how people die, kind of shows up in what their power is and how their power works and stuff like that. So it's basically 2 books about them, friends to enemies. They both, in the first book, to prove their thesis themselves, nearly, to try to obtain these superpowers, and it works. And one of the guys that did it thinks it's like wrong and people shouldn't have these superpowers, and so he goes on like a mission to like all of the extraordinaries he can find, while then the other friend is like, no, like this is a great thing, we can't just go around killing people just because they have powers. Like, who are you to decide? You're not God. And it's really good. It is such a good series. Moving on to the next one, Slewfoot. Now this book, you guys, I went into this book completely blind, and I was not prepared. That is my bad. So I'm going to warn you right now. It is a horror book, horror fantasy. It is bloody, it is gory, it is messed up, it is dark. It is about a witch in like 1700s New England, and she doesn't really start out as a witch. Basically, you were like introduced to this tiny little village in New England where this man and his husband live on this farm, and long story short, the husband dies in a mysterious way, and she obtains the farm. But because she's a woman, and people hate women in this time, and still, her brother-in-law is trying to take the farm back from her, but because she's a widow, the farm is technically hers. She gets to keep it because her husband died and it was his farm and now it's hers. Her brother-in-law is basically doing everything he can to make sure she loses this farm because she has no help now and he's a major a-hole. Then she meets Slewfoot, which is a fae-like devil. He's basically the devil, but he doesn't remember that because he has been locked in a tree cave thing for forever. He doesn't remember who he is, and so they stumble upon each other. She agrees to help him remember who he is. He agrees to help her save the farm. And then, of course, because she's dabbling in witchcraft with the devil, shit hits the fan. Bad. Real bad. And let me tell you, I was unprepared. And my goodness, the characters, like the drawings, like I'm going to show you some of the drawings from this book. I'll put the pictures in, so spoilers now. But these characters are terrifying. And I have never read a book before where I literally, after I finished it, had to pray. I had to pray because I thought I summoned a demon and I was so scared. Which leads me into my next statement. Apparently he wrote another book. This guy's name is Brom. The author's name is Brom. He wrote another one about a jack-in-the-box and a bunch of toys that are basically like live in this child's bedroom, and like they have to like save the kid from these evil toys or something like that. I don't know what it's about, but I want to read it. After I read that book, after I read Slewfoot, I want to read this one because, like, obviously. But I guess now that I read Slewfoot, I know that these books are no joke and they're not to be taken lightly and they are scary. So keep that in mind. Another good one, Wayward. This is also about a witch. It is about actually 3 generations of witches that are like all related. It follows along with like 3 women from 3 generations. They're witches. It was really good. It basically shows like how each woman had like an abusive relationship in some way with a man, and how they each all dealt with that, and how just how they're all connected through all of this trauma, magic, whatever you will. That one was really good. Another witch following along, Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch. I mean, it's about a witch, you know? What speaks more fall than that? It is about a witch that saves other witches from being killed. Basically, like the kingdom like hunts them down and kills them. They have like a bunch of guards that like are specifically do that. While the main character, she's a witch, so she will go and hunt down these witches and she'll release them back into the wild where they belong. But while she's doing that, she meets one of the main witch hunters and they start dating. He doesn't know it's her and she does know it's him. He doesn't know it's her though. They kind of start having a thing, you know, and it causes a bunch of problems. But it's totally fun. It's a lot of fun. I literally had to move rooms because I was being so loud and people are trying to sleep and they can hear me through the walls in the opposite room. And this is my actual bedroom. So like my bedroom, there's a wall in between, then it's a library, then there's a wall in between, a hallway, and then like a room, and they can hear me, and that was awkward, and because I don't want to be listened to, and that's cringe. So we moved into my bedroom. So we're gonna continue in here now with Artemis. Artemis, we for Artemis. What say? Good job. Good job. You're so smart. Okay, I don't know where I was. I think I left off. This Hunter. Okay, moving on. Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. Guys, this book is another book I went into blind. Based on the fact that it has illustrations in the pages, I thought it was going to be like a YA mystery book. I was wrong. Okay, so this takes place in a tiny town in America, and there's a group of kids. Believe there's 5 of them. 2 of the members of this group are sisters. And basically, someone is murdering people and re-sewing them back together with red string. Sewing them back together wrong, mind you, with red string and leaving them throughout the town. And one of the sisters of the group of 5 gets taken, the older sister. So obviously all the friends go on this journey to try and find her before they find her. Yikes. It's literally so gory, so messed up. It's like Pennywise. By Stephen King, it's very reminiscent of that. It is very uncomfortable, very creepy, very sketch. Very much, no thank you, I would not want to be doing that. And if that was my sister, I would say, tough shit, babe. You're on your own, because I'm not coming after that thing. It was great. It was thrilling. I loved it. I didn't sleep that night after I finished it. The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. This is about a group of people who are making this documentary about this town where this woman mysteriously got murdered, and there's nobody in this town anymore. It's abandoned. They don't know why people left, so obviously they're trying to uncover it. While they're filming in this village, a bunch of weird crap starts going on. One of their vans blows up with all of their equipment inside. One of the girls goes missing and she starts losing her mind, and they're like trying to figure out what's going on with her. And then just a bunch of scary stuff starts happening. People start disappearing. People start dying. They're getting chased through this village, all while trying to record it. And then it takes a turn, and then you're like, what in the hell? That is not what I would ever think was going to happen. And it wasn't scary, but it was just psychologically not enjoyable to the point that it was enjoyable. And then obviously next one is a classic, the Mindfuck series. This is obviously another book talk classic. I'm just putting this on here because honestly I want to reread it, and it's so good. It's about main character. Basically something happens to her and her brother when they're younger that is absolutely horrific and awful. By the way, trigger warning. This book is trigger warning for everything. Don't read it if you're triggered by anything, because it'll be in this book. She basically gets revenge for her brother on these people that did these things to her and her brother. And it's beautiful. And she's insane. And while she's getting revenge, the detective that is trying to figure out who's murdering all these people, they start hooking up, And it's thrilling. And I loved it. And she's probably one of the best characters I've ever read about. So good. Moving on to more cozy ones. There's only 2, but I gotta give you a little bit of variety. The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. This is about a lost bookshop. There you go. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Moving on, The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks. I don't think this one really takes place in the fall, but it's about a bookshop, so there's nothing more fall vibes than that. But it's basically, so Maggie Banks takes over this bookshop for her friend who's taking maternity leave, and while she's taking, control of this bookshop, she realizes that it's going bankrupt, because at this bookshop they advertise most of the books they sell there are from the 1920s and down. And then there's one author that they really love to advertise because he was born and raised in that town. So she, because this bookstore is going bankrupt that her best friend owns, concocts this plan, this secret book club, where people have to pay to get in with tickets, and she has to go behind her friend's back and the mayor, I don't know, I think it was the mayor. She has to go behind everybody's back basically and throw these book clubs to keep said money that's donated at these book clubs to keep the bookshop running. And it was very cute. It was very fun. And Artemis wants to show his butthole to everybody. There it is. Now put it away, or this video is going to get taken down. I literally have been talking for the last 15 minutes and I haven't even been recording. Okay, let's start that over. Now for books that I want to read this fall. That was the ones I recommend. Now let's get in the ones that I'm excited to finish. What do you think? Okay, like I said 4 minutes ago when I realized I wasn't recording, I am currently on the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I'm on the second book. I'm halfway through. The second book is Royal Assassin. Now, I've said before in the past and 5 minutes ago, this series is very slow going, and so I almost didn't finish it after the first book. I've been reading the second book for easily a month or two now, and I'm only halfway through. It's like when it's slow, it's slow. Like the first book starts when he's like 4 until like he's like 14, and like we're learning, the magic skills he has, his personalities, all this school that he has, or the things he has to be taught. And we're introduced to all these different characters very slowly within the first book. I mean, literally, the action didn't happen until maybe the last 5 chapters of the book. And that is really, truly was just to set up the second book. And I'm halfway through the second book, and it's definitely picked up more now. Basically, it follows along with this kid that is brought to Buckkeep Palace as a bastard. The father of the daughter that got pregnant by the prince, if that makes sense, by one of the princes at this castle. The grandfather brings the kid in and says, "This is your bastard. I don't want him. I don't want to have to feed him or take care of him. Take him." So they take him in as a royal bastard. They have to send away his father, one of the princes, because obviously, like, that's shameful. He was supposed to be the king in waiting, but he can't be now because he had this kid. So they send him away to a different kingdom. He shortly dies. They decide to raise this kid, Fitz. They call him Fitz Chivalry. They raise him to be a king's assassin because they can't really have him do anything else. They're like, well, if we're going to have you, we'd rather have you than send you out, and one day you might turn on us. So we're going to use you how we can use you. So they train him as an assassin. There's also this thing called the skill and the wit. The skill is a magic where, like, you basically are, like, mind to mind. Like, so, like, if one person knows a skill and then this person knows a skill, there's one leader of the skill, and in this book it's now the new prince in waiting, and they can basically, like, mind connect to this person when they need them to, and, like, call out to them and take their power from them when they're weak. So he gets taught in that. He's not very good at it. He gets kicked out of class because he's so bad at it. But he quickly bonds to the second prince in waiting. Prince Verity is the new prince in waiting. They use the skill with Fitz, and that's just kind of how they're connected now. This is in the second book. They also have a second magic system called the Wit, and that is basically like a banned no-no magic. Like, you're not supposed to use it, because what happens is Fitz, specifically in this book, uses the Wit to connect to, like, beasts, dogs specifically. And he can, like, see what they're seeing, feel what they're feeling. They can talk to each other in each other's minds. But what happens, the reason it's so shameful is because it turns these humans into beasts. Like, they literally start thinking and feeling like these animals do. And it can, like, at one point, literally, like, Fitz is fighting. And in the second book, he's connected to a wolf, even though he's not supposed to be. Like, nobody knows he is, because he's already had many of his canine companions killed because of this. Spoilers. So now he's connected to a wolf, and when he's fighting, he will literally, like, see what the wolf sees and will, like, rip people's throats out with his teeth as a human, because, like, their brains are interconnected, and it just takes over. So basically, there's also this other thing going on. It's called the Red Ship Raiders. They're coming into Buckkeep Palace, and they're, ruining villages. They're killing people. And when they're there killing people, they're also turning people into, like, basically, like, zombies. I can't remember what they're called at the moment. But they, like, go around, these zombie people, after the Red Ship Raiders come, they go around just destroying villages and killing people. And so Prince Verity and Fitz Chivalry are kind of on a mission right now to stop that. They're going through and they're eradicating all of these things. And that's as far as I've gotten so far. Basically, that's, long story short, because there's a lot of story to this. That's what's happening right now. It is very good. It is, there's not a lot of action, but the second book, halfway through, has picked up, and the writing in this series is just beautiful. I mean, it is so vivid. It's so alive. The characters are all great. The dialogue is great. Like, not once have I ever been sucked out of it because of a mistake by the author. Like, it is truly, I think that's really the thing that has kept me going. The plot for some people may be slow and boring and they want more action, but it's been fun, I think, because it's just so slow. Like, you're really just like going around on these missions. You're going around and hanging out with him and the wolf. Like, you're going around and like there's this scene about him talking to another person for like a whole chapter. Like, it's just good. It's just because it's written so well, it's enjoyable. So yeah, I'm about to finish the second book. I'm hoping this weekend. And then that will get me to the third one, which is the biggest one. It's the big boy. Assassin's Quest is the third one. So we'll see. We'll see if I can finish the second one and get to the third one. They have taken me way too long to read. Okay, next one. I've had this one on my TBR for a long time, A Broken Blade. This is called The Halfling Saga by Melissa Blair. I know nothing about this one. It says, Kira is a killer. As the king's blade, she's the most talented spy in the kingdom and the king's favorite assassin. So obviously it's about an assassin. This one has been sitting on my shelf forever because I'm just not so interested in it, like, at all. And but I'm really hoping. I've almost gotten rid of it a couple of times, but people keep telling me that it's really good. So we'll see. Is this perfect for fans of Throne of Glass? Usually that's not very accurate, though. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, so hopefully this fall I'll get to this one. Anyway, next I'm really excited about, and I've been putting this one off for a while just because it's one of my most anticipated, Scythe. This is a trilogy, Scythe, Thunderhead, and The Toll. Wow, this font is like impossible to read for some reason. I've heard great things about this one. It is about like a world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes only with a heavy price. So yeah, I don't know. I've heard really good things about these ones, and I'm super excited about it. Like, that's such an interesting concept. Like, you have to be a scythe. Like, you have to take people's lives. I don't know. Sounds very dystopian yet fantasy, kind of sci-fi. So yeah, hopefully after I finish Robin Hobb, because I'm reading 3 series right now. No, I'm reading 2 series right now. I'm reading Robin Hobb, and then on my Kindle I'm reading, where's my Kindle? The Legacy series. I'm on the second book, Storm of Secret and Sorrow. I think I'm exactly halfway through, by Melissa K. Rowrich. The first book, like Zodiac Academy, was awful. Like, the writing, like, I literally could not tell if it was good or it was bad, or if I was loving it or if I was hating it, because it's just so all over the place, and like, it's just not good. Like, objectively, it's really just not good. But it's like a soap opera. I just can't look away. I just can't stop. And I'm on the second book halfway through. This one is about a fae versus legacy world. So these legacies that are descended from demigods, and then there's fae. Obviously they're fae, and the fae serve the legacy as their sources, which means they go through these trials after the legacy picks their source, and they sync up, and the legacy can then take the power from the source and use it. And there's a bunch of different kingdoms. Okay, so basically we're following along with like one legacy and his fae. I literally cannot remember their names. I'm blanking. It's because it's so late right now. But we're finding out that the fae, the main character, she's a female, that she's not actually a fae, and that like there's problems with her and her legacy source bond. That's what it's called. She will not listen. Like, basically the sources are supposed to like listen to whatever the legacy tells them to do, but she doesn't, because she's not a fae. Spoiler alert. So they're kind of just discovering who she is, her heritage and stuff like that right now. And he also, the main character, has, you know, his family comes from this evil kingdom, and he's trying to overthrow his father. Like, literally, why are there so many bugs in my room right now? That must have been because I left my window open. There are so many flies in my room right now. I'm literally being driven nuts. Anyway, okay, so I'm on the second book of that. I think there's 4 or 5 books, and they're hefty. They're like 600 to 700 pages each. I'm 50% through the second one. Like I said, train wreck, but I just can't look away. It's just so entertaining. I don't know why. So once I finish Robin Hobb and the Legacy series, I think I'll start Scythe. At least that's the plan in my head that I probably won't follow. Moving on, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Now, I say I want to read this one this fall, but for some reason this is giving me winter vibes, so I won't really be that disappointed if I don't get to it this fall. But this is a really big one on Book Talk. It takes place, I believe, in World War II. Yep. It's basically telling the women's side of the war and what they did and what they went through and stuff like that. So I've heard it's really sad and it makes everybody who reads it cry. So I've been putting that off just because of that. I literally can't take any more tears in my life. I already do it enough. Holy crap. This says US $35. I did not pay $35 for this book right now. Where did I get this? Oh my gosh, I might have paid $35 for this freaking book. Anyway, moving on. These next two books are books I got at a library sale. This was like the cutest thing ever. They just had like a bunch of books out on a table and they were like, listen, the books are like $1 or whatever you can pay and you can take as many as you want. So I did. But one of the ones I got is called The Night Before by Wendy Walker. I believe it's a mystery thriller book. It says Rosie Farrow has spent most of her life worrying about her troubled sister. Fearless but fragile, Laura has always walked an emotional tightrope and Rosie has always been there to catch her. Laura's return under mysterious circumstances has cast a shadow over Rosie's peaceful life with her husband and young son, a shadow that grows darker as Laura leaves the house for her blind date. When Laura does not return home the following morning, Rosie fears the worst. She's not responding to calls or texts, and she's left no information about the man she planned to meet. As Rosie begins a desperate search to find her sister, she's not just worried about what this man might have done to Laura, she's worried about what Laura might have done to him. What? I don't remember ever reading that. A man who tells lies. A woman who's had enough. Okay. I mean, that's fall vibes, right? Murder mystery? Heck yeah. And the other one I got is called The Murderer's Daughter by Jonathan Kellerman. Look, literally, this is so satisfying because this came from a library. It's like wrapped in that like special cellophane wrap. I don't know if that's what that's called. But it's so satisfying. I love those. Like, I'm going to go rob a library right now. Wow, look at this. May 17th, 2016. Checked this book out from like Pretty Little Liars. I've never watched that show, but I do know things. So January 18th, Troy Bolton. Wow, I didn't know he liked this book. The Murderer's Daughter, a novel. It's a brilliant, deeply dedicated psychologist. Grace Blades, what a name, has a gift for treating troubled souls and tormented psyches. Perhaps because she bears her own invisible scars. Only 5 years old when she witnessed her parents' deaths in a bloody murder-suicide. That's not funny. Grace took refuge in her fierce intellect and found comfort in the loving couple who adopted her. But Grace still has a dark secret side. When her two worlds shockingly converge, Grace's harrowing past returns with a vengeance. Both Grace and her newest patient are stunned when they recognize each other from a recent encounter. Haunted by his bleak past, mild-mannered Andrew Toner, what are these names, is desperate for Grace's renowned, oh, I'm having a stroke. Anyway, and while Grace is tempted to explore his case, which seems to eerily echo her grim early years, she refuses a decision she regrets when a homicide detective appears on her doorstep. An evil she'd thought she'd outrun has reared its head again, but Grace fears that a police inquiry... Oh my god! I had to finish reading that in the quiet because that was literally ridiculous. That sounds pretty interesting. So her parents died, murder-suicide. Parents' deaths. She witnessed her parents' deaths in a bloody murder-suicide. Okay, so one of the parents killed the other parent and then killed themselves. Both did it at the same time. Would it count as a murder-suicide if they did that, though? Okay, anyway. Yeah, so, I don't know. That sounds kind of interesting. Okay, moving on. This Woven Kingdom. Now, I have this, book. I believe it's a duology or a trilogy now, maybe. I've had it on my TBR shelf forever, and I tried to read it once, and I hated it. But, like, people started talking about it a lot again lately, like one of the newer books. So I took it off the DNF shelf, and we're gonna try it again, I guess. This will be its final shot. If I don't like it, she going. Yeah, there's that. Last but not least, Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Yeah, I know. From master storyteller John Gwynne, the Norse-inspired epic of blood and vengeance. When the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones in the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now, as whispers of war echo over the fjords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of three warriors, a huntress on a perilous quest, a noble woman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All three will change the course of the world as it once more falls under the shadow of the gods. Ooh, honestly, I literally just bought it because that's a dragon. What more do I need? I probably realistically won't get to this one this fall. Although it looks like a pretty daunting book, but the words are really big, so that makes me feel better. That's pretty much it. All the rest of the books I have on my TBR are definitely winter books. They're definitely going to be saved for this winter. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books physical that I'm trying to finish. And then that means I have 2.5 left on the Kindle series, the Legacy series that I'm reading. So I've got plenty to read, plenty that I know I'm definitely not going to get through or get to read. I've had a slow year this year because a lot has been going on this summer. So, but I don't know. Normally during the cold seasons, I'm locked inside, so I get more stuff done. I really just got to kick my ass into gear though. Like, it's nobody's problem but myself. Like, I've had plenty of time to read. I just don't. So we're going to try. We're really going to try. I would be really so happy if I got through most of these. That would be a big chunk of my TBR. That's the video for you. I said I was going to make more YouTube videos, so here they are. I'm trying, you guys. I hate TikTok, and everybody's just so negative on TikTok. Not you guys. The people who follow me aren't, but if I interact with you guys, I'm interacting with a bunch of other things, and I just can't do that because it's just bad. So this is the second option, and I'm slowly sinking into the bed because it's warm and cozy, and I'm tired. Artemis is gonna go to sleep. Are we gonna read tonight? Oh. Are we gonna read tonight? Which one should we read? Robin Hobb, or should we read on the Kindle? Which one? I got a headache, so we're probably gonna read on the Kindle. Yeah. Okay, that means it's time for bed. So we're going to go to bed. Thank you for watching. I love you all. And good night. And, oh my gosh, you can't say that.